So anyway, did you,
Well, we now had nothing to do. And meanwhile, they moved us up to Lake Garda, where we just plain loafed, built ourselves a floating dock, even tried some homemade scuba diving.
oh, that's funny. So what were the people like in Italy after the war was over?
We didn't have much contact with them.
Even in Lake Garda? No?
No,
What, were you in Sicily at some point?
no,
Oh, okay, that was another time.
no, no.
So you were just in Tuscany and Lake Garda area. And how did you end up being in somebody's villa when you were in Lucca? How did that villa come about?
It was a setup that the army had made by taking over somebody's house, and it was a nice villa.
And you were, that's where you had the straw mattresses?
Yeah.
So
Oh,
it was
yeah.
a nice villa with straw mattresses.
Huh?
It was a nice villa, but not very nice beds.
Yeah. Oh, well, that was the quickest they could put together a couple of hundred mattresses.
So did you keep in touch with any of the guys from your division?
Huh?
What division were you in? Do you remember? Just hand me your microphone so you can hear me. What division were you in?
What division?
Yeah,
We were not.
you weren't? I thought it was Sonic Division or something.
No, no. We were we were a separate entity directly under the Fifth Army.
So were you,
So we were not part of anybody's division.
were you the original OSS? Were you in the OSS? OSS. Can you hear me?
Nobody told us that. But no, the word did filter down. And actually, somewhere back in the States, while we were getting indoctrinated, our our colonel, who was in charge of the whole operation, told us that we were part of the OSS. That was the first we knew about that.
Were you allowed to talk about this after the war?
What?
Were you allowed to talk about this after the war?
Well, it's a funny thing. We were not allowed to talk about what we did. That we were classed as top secret, so we never could talk about it. When the war ended, nobody told us one way or the other whether we were declassified. But then somebody said he had seen something about us in Life magazine. And we said, oh, well, good, then we can talk about it. Actually, what's kind of silly about all this is the, the major outfit that was up in France. They operated in France, Luxembourg, Germany, and they were sworn to secrecy to the point that they were not allowed to talk about it after the war, and were made to keep silent for 50 years.
Wow.
And it actually most of them obeyed that too. But we didn't have anybody being that demanding.
Okay.
But of course, ours was a relatively small operation, and so we didn't think too much about it when we talked about it.
Did your mother know you were in Italy?
Yeah,
She did,
yeah.
but not what you were doing.
Well, no.
Okay. It was a secret. So now there are a lot of books written about this. I think it's the division in France that,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. There are 3 or 4 books covering the Ghost Army in France,
Right.
and
Which some of that was the turning point of the war up in France, I think. Wasn't it? Wasn't it a turning point in the war up in France that what
yeah.
happened there?
Well, there's much been written about what they did, but the one thing that impressed me was that when the army was getting ready to cross the Rhine, the higher ups had convinced themselves that there were going to be a heck of a lot of losses when they tried to cross the Rhine.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of our sister outfit was up there and doing everything they could to make it look like the crossing on the Rhine was going to take place at one place, which was not going to happen. And they did it in a way that it was typical of the way they operated. They would do everything to make it look like they were moving in many tanks. They would they would they were doing everything they could to make it look like the army was moving in to this particular spot, even to the point of putting stars on some guys' shoulders to make them temporarily be generals, so that when they went into the local bar, it had every indication that this was a significant movement going to take place. And as it turned out, it did work beautifully, because the Germans were convinced that this was going to be where they crossed the Rhine, and it didn't happen. They picked a different location and had very low light wounded. They've guessed that they may have saved thousands of Army lives by this
Yeah.
trick. In fact, one number they guessed at was as high as 40,000.
Oh my goodness.
So they really felt they had done something.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Well, also it's so risky to be a decoy. You guys were pretty brave to be a decoy, and you were probably too young even to realize how brave you were. So, how old were you?
Hmm. Was that 20, 21?
21.
20, 21, I think.
Wow.